And we're back. Welcome back to But Wait, There's More, episode number 4. In this episode, we're going to finish up a bit of Fergus's backstory. Kind of ended it right there last week because we're running out of time, and we just want to do a little cleanup on there so you kind of get an idea of what Lithian does as a job and kind of how they ended up together. And then we're going to move on from there, and we're going to have a lot of fun. So I'm going to pass it to Ray so he can finish it off, and yeah, enjoy.
Now, when last we found our intrepid dwarf, once he put his pants back on. Now, for one reason or another, he seemed to have made an impression on the young lady. Now, for this short, hairy person, such as he is, to make an impression on this very exotic woman from, climes beyond, odd, but there is a point to it. Now, she gave him a note. She gave him a small whistle, a pendant, and told him to reiterate the next time he was in Waterdeep to follow the instructions on the note. Well, Fergus, as Fergus, I have to say, normally I go to Waterdeep about once a year, but this time around I couldn't stay away a fortnight. I couldn't forget the woman. It was just very attractive, and it was very intent about the whole thing. And I was reading the note over and over again, and the note was very simple. It was an address, and just a small, simple hand note that just says, "Go to the southwest corner and blow this whistle." Okay, fine. Well, I wasn't away from the city for more than a fortnight. I get back there, and it happened to be after dark. Now, I go to this address. Now, I'm expecting some relatively nice place, but not on the scope of what I saw, because I'm sitting there thinking, any house is big enough to have a perimeter wall and servants and a coach house in the back and so on. It's an estate. I mean, it's very nice. I said, well, she must live with somebody. Get a load of this place. And I said, okay, all right, I'm here. I had to double check. I went around the block once to make sure. I had to double check. I said, okay, southwest corner. So I start following the wall, and on each corner of the estate, the wall comes to an end, and there's a great statue. It's kind of I guess you call it a gargoyle, something like that. It's like, now I feel bloody ridiculous, because there's all kind of topiary and shrubs and whatnot, and then this big stone thing, and I'm kind of out of the way, and I feel foolish. I'm standing in the middle of this little glade, in the middle of a neighborhood. It's like, yeah, I'm not obvious. And I said, okay, now I'm going to blow this fool whistle and watch. She's going to dump a bucket of shite on me from over the wall. Well, okay, let's give the whistle a shot. So I blow the whistle. But it doesn't make any bloody sound. So we try it again. Not a sound. I wasn't getting it. But then I hear a noise. It's kind of a rumble. You kind of felt it more than anything. As I turn around, here's the gargoyle. The gargoyle is it's on a hinge. The whole thing's slowly peeling out of the way. And there's an entrance behind. Very nice, very fancy. It's very nice stonework, too. I go inside. Now, there's a passageway that runs down inside the wall. And a lever. Now, most of the time, if you've got someone who's a real crackerjack DM that's going to give you more choices of levers, if it gives you 3 or 4, one of them's the booby trap.
Watch out.
But there's just the one lever. So I pull the lever, and the thing starts to swing shut. It's like, okay, fine. So I follow my nose down the stairs, and I'm evidently under the wall. And it doglegs one way and the other, but it leads where I'm guessing I'm under the house. And there is a steel door. All right, fine. So I knocked. I mean, figure somebody's house. You never know if they've got guards or there's what else. So I just figured, well, I'm here. I knock on the door. Well, I hear the lock click, and I hear her say, "Come in." So I open the door, and the door doesn't make a sound. Somebody evidently understands what oil is for, because it doesn't squeak at all. Now, open the door, and there inside there is a large room. It's evidently part of the substructure of the house. It's one of the basements. And it's all arched stone and arches holding everything up. A very large fireplace. That's the only light in the place, and there she is. And it's just she's dressed very nicely. It's just, every time I see her, even here years later, every time I take a look at her, it's like pling. Can't help myself. I really can't. But I close the door behind me, and she seems very pleased. She says, "I'm very glad that you're here." But that's when I noticed something. It's like as you know, in the firelight, it's not exactly the best light spectrum to see, but I noticed that there's two men in the corners of the room, and at a quick check, there's two more. So I'm surrounded. I got four guys in here I've never seen before. They're armed, and okay, not good. I'm a little bit concerned at this point. But she throws her hands up and she said, "Wait. Let me explain the situation." Now this is where I find out what's going on. I was very surprised at all of this. Turns out that she is not a courtesan, a dominatrix, whatever the job profile calls. The whole thing is a cover. It seems that when she was younger and she came to the surface, there are a certain number of drow on the surface that have, they've returned to the light, so to speak. And they fit in society as best they can. Well, I mean, a lot of them, they tend to be exotics because you don't see them that often. Nope. But they find themselves, because these are very intelligent people, they find places to put themselves. Well, she early on got involved with an organization known as the Harpers. Now, anyone who's ever played the game is going to know the Harpers. They're one of those semi-legal, semi-shady organizations that kind of works behind the scenes. Now, they do good things. They help a lot of people. But it's like they're
sort of like an independent MI6 or CIA.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah, get a better hat, though.
Yeah.
Anyhow, she works for these people. And these gentlemen that are with her, these are some of the other operatives in the area. And they have a situation. They're on a timetable. There is apparently a smuggler of some repute that is somewhere in the city. He's supposed to be arriving, and he has lodging somewhere in the city. Now, this individual is supposed to be bringing a team of assassins into the city for some nefarious reason. Now, they have been trying to nail this guy down. The problem being is this gentleman, whoever he may be, I've never laid eyes on the guy, knows all these people by sight. So they were looking for a fresh face. And I know with the beard and the hat and all, it's not exactly a fresh face, but you get the idea. And they hoped that I would be able to help them. Now, without putting too long a point on the thing, is in the fullness of time, I did actually manage to help them. And when that was all over with, they were very satisfied with my work. And Lithian asked me if I would entertain the idea of helping, or just joining the association
on a regular basis.
Yeah, and it was the kind of thing. Well, you spend so many years in the army, and now you're going to be operating pretty much on your own or with a small group of professionals. There was something about it. I mean, I'm to an age where I'm not stuck with a wanderlust like the young bucks, but it seemed like I would be doing good things, so it seemed like a good idea. And I mean, this went on. I mean, it was like we ended up working together for the next 4 years. And it's like we saved each other's lives more than once. And it's like, and the poor girl, she had to pull my poor broken butt down off of a mountain with a broken leg. To tell you, I never blame her for that one. She did a hell of a job. But after all of this and all these various adventures and so on, it finally came down to one day. It was a very simple operation. We had to find another smuggler, of course, down in the docks. Well, it ends up being the two of us, alone, trapped in this warehouse with these boogers hiding up in the roof beams with crossbows trying to kill us. Now, we've become, at this point, very close friends, I'd like to think. And it's always the thing that they say that males and females cannot be close friends because it's always going to, one way or the other, eventually it's going to turn to that sort of relationship. Things are going to change or get weird. Well, here you are, the two of us pinned down behind this box. Arrows stuck in the wall and these buggers laughing at us. And I just couldn't help myself. As I'm sitting there looking at her and she's looking at me, and all I could say was, if we get out of this alive, will you marry me? Now, she looked at me like I was daft, and she's like, you damn fool. Of course. Now, in the middle of all of that, she kissed me, and I didn't know where to put myself. I was like, okay, I guess we better get out of here. So I picked up the box, and we run out of there in a hail of arrows and managed to get away.
Think Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, it's just there's one little hole in the box so you can see through. But it was the porcupine quills, all the arrows in the top of the box that made it easy to spot who we were. And in the fullness of time, we actually did get married.
And that's a whole
Another story.
So, but wait, there's more on that later. We'll cover that in a different segment.
But moving on to where we're supposed to be.
So, Fergus actually tells that story to the contact that they meet in El Terrell, and he's thoroughly impressed, and he sends them on to Baldur's Gate. He gets them a ship to go downriver to Baldur's Gate. And we're back, folks. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Had to switch out the batteries and
again.
Yeah. We'll get better equipment eventually. But going back to the story, they're traveling on the boat to Baldur's Gate, and this affords me as the DM the opportunity to introduce a recurring villain, Tik-Tik, the kobold sorcerer. So from his time in the caverns where he escaped notice, he has now gained the ability to cast spells. And so he's got a group of bandits on the coast. He's not a really big threat to the group. It's just he's throwing spells at them while his group of guys are firing arrows, and the group gets to fire arrows back.
The running, the screaming.
Around the boat. And it's a way for me to introduce, you find the chicken! I will kill you all! And
it's not the greatest war cry, but when it's just the sheer unbelievable, the sheer surreal. I don't believe this little guy with the big Ming collar is just gonna. I don't believe it. And then he starts throwing real spells. It's like, okay, here we go.
Yeah, this isn't just like, oh, that's cute. He threw,
oh, glitter
at us. No, like he's throwing legit spells. Like, ow, that hurt.
Where'd my left eye go?
So they escape him, and he swears vengeance upon them for burning the chicken. He's, I will see you later.
It's like, great. Looking forward.
And they eventually make it to Baldur's Gate, and they meet their contact, and they go to get hired on to the caravan, and they have to do either a strength check or a persuasion check to thoroughly impress somebody so they can get hired on. Either way, they're going to go on this caravan that is following these cultists, but it depends. What these checks are for is to see how much they're going to get paid. If you fail miserably, you're just along for the ride, you don't get paid, and you get to Waterdeep with no money in your pocket, or very little. You impress them enough, you'll arrive with a decent amount of money, and it's Waterdeep, so you'll be able to buy some nice stuff.
A fair fighter's wage.
Yeah. So Fergus, he starts it off by rolling a strength check, and he hits like a 19, something really high up there.
I think it was up there, and it's just, would you happen to have a horseshoe? No, you got the gentleman behind the table. What the hell does he want a horseshoe for? But of course, they got the furrier's wagon and all that stuff there. They come up with a horseshoe. And it's a very nice horseshoe. Here you go.
And so they were impressed. He got hired on, and the party goes through some other checks, and some people get hired, some people don't. But the highlight of this is Ito, our wizard. He comes out with this glorious hairdo. He spent time and money on this hairdo, and it's in the shape of a beholder. Now, for the uninitiated, a beholder is this giant head with one eyeball and eye stalks, like tentacles with
dreadlocks
eyeballs.
with eyes on the ends.
Yeah, dreadlocks with eyeballs at the end. And it's a very scary thing, but he has his hair done up like this, and not only is it in the shape, but the eyes light up. He spent the time and the money
to go find some high dollar clip joint somewhere where they probably had somebody named Aretha do up the weave, and then the deal is he didn't tell any of us about it beyond a passing, haha, I'm going to do this. So we weren't actually expecting him to act out the character walking up to the hiring hall table, and they're going to ask you, so what can you do? And he flips back the hood, and here's this great big guardsman with the clipboard and the quill. He's like, so what can you do? Because of this hairdo, staring at him over the table. And pretty much got all of us at the same time, because it's just something you don't really want to just envision. It's like, love the do.
How do you make that work? Weasel grease.
Weasel grease seems to be the thing for everything. We're not really sure where he gets it, but he has a supply.
It is better than hairspray, let me tell you. But he rolls really high on his persuasion check, and so the guard is like, you are hired. You look scary, man. And so that was notable. I mean, the horseshoe bending was impressive, but the beholder hairdo was fantastic.
It actually scared the horses.
Yeah, so the wizard got hired on at max wages, and off they go. And now they're on this caravan from Baldur's Gate to Waterdeep. And they have a couple of adventures. They meet this magical deer that gives a dire warning that not everybody in the party will survive, which certain someone fulfills the prophecy.
But that's in the future.
That's in the future. And a couple other things happen. One of the notable little adventures was they ran across one of the caravan members abusing his horses. I mean, just beating them, whipping them, torturing these poor animals. And Ito, our wizard, has a very special spot in his heart for animals. And so him seeing this set him off. And so this wizard now is like, he is not waiting for anybody. He sees this and he lays into, like, he starts throwing spells. Everybody else is trying to catch up, because now a fight's started to kick off with this nobleman and his bodyguards, who a fighter and a wizard of comparable level. And so now you have this full-blown fight on their hands because of this noble abusing his horses. Fight ensues. Our side wins, and Ito is so furious. I mean, in real life, the man is physically upset because he is just that into the character. And he takes the nobleman and shoves the nobleman's head into horse dung and says, "The horses are now ours. If I ever catch you abusing an animal again, you will die."
Now, it's a thing to see a person who's going to carry someone who's so heartfelt about that. It's a wonder to see. It really is, because I was trying to explain the concept of the game once, and of all people, my father was the one who explained it best, because I was telling him the story. And the way he explained it is, this game is the best movie you'll never see, because it all happens so fluidly and so quickly that you've got people actually passionate about their characters, that you can actually sit there and just be sitting there with your mouth hanging open like, wow, do you see this?
Yeah.
Hollywood, hello.
Steve was he was so thoroughly in his character that it was just it wasn't acting for him. It was his legitimate reaction. And
He was there. He was there.
And I love that as a DM because that means that I'm doing my job presenting this and creating this world, and that I've got my players immersed in it to the point where they are no longer acting or thinking about it. They are being their characters. And I almost feared for my life for a second because I'm acting, I am the bad guy. He is talking to me and telling me, he's giving me the stink eye. And I'm like, okay, I'm glad yeah. So that was a really notable experience for me because he was so thoroughly in character that this small episode was very important to him, and he took in that horse and he became very attached to that horse.
He still got the horse.
Yeah, they had to leave it at some point at a stables, and he paid the money, a couple $100 gold.
It wasn't cheap.
No, it wasn't cheap. He paid the money to have it delivered back to Waterdeep, so when he returned, he would have this horse again. And that's saying something because, it's transportation. It's a horse. It gets you from point A to point B. It's not a big deal, but to him it was. Like, later on, he paid the money to make sure that he would have that particular horse in the future. He made sure it was fed, that it was groomed, that it was healed up, and it was taken care of. And so that was a really special moment for me because of that reaction.
I thought the license plate was a bit much, but
butt flap. And then the next notable moment in the journey is another ambush by Tik-Tik. Now,
again.
At this point, a couple of weeks have passed. It's a long journey from Baldur's Gate to Waterdeep. It's several hundred miles.
It's convoy speeds.
Yeah,
caravan, the slowest wagon sets the pace. So
and you've got a dozen or more wagons and various horses and hangers on, and so you got to spend the night, circle the wagons and all that. And so another ambush by Tik-Tik, and this one's a pretty good one. It had the folks worried for a while because at this point Tik-Tik had leveled up. Not only is he a kobold, he is a kobold with wings, so he flies, and he's no longer this short little thing. Well, he's still short, but he's as tall as a dwarf now.
Yeah, I thought that is in character. I'm looking the bugger square in the eyes. Now, before, it's like, now at 4'4", for me to look down at somebody, they are short. But now I'm looking the same one, that's the same bugger right there. He's looking me dead in the eyes, he's gotten bigger. They don't grow that big. They're just not natural. They don't get that physically big. What are they feeding him? No one will tell me.
Well, and what it was, and he actually yelled this, "Tiamat has blessed me! You will die, fools!" And he commences to chuck spells, serious spells, like fireballs. Whoop. And,
It's penetrating.
Yes. Very penetrating spells. And the party is just in awe of this kobold now, and it's serious business because when somebody starts throwing fireballs,
I don't consider that in awe. I was considering it running for my bloody life. Where we go? Go that way. No, go that way. Get out of the fire, fool. And the running and the screaming yet again.
And they are able to finish off the entourage that Tik-Tik had assembled. And Tik-Tik, seeing he was clearly routed, flies away to safety to come bother them another day.
Another day.
And so, again, reinforcing the recurring villain thing that, oh man, we're going to keep seeing this guy.
He got away? He got away again? Well, we're going to see him again. I know. That doesn't mean I want to.
Because not all villains are going to fight to the death. I mean, some DMs will do that, and they start running out of villains. They have to keep making some up, and so some villains are actually kind of smart and are worried about their own life. They're not going to stick around and fight to the death unless they're completely trapped. And so Tik-Tik, being a sorcerer and having access to magic, will turn invisible and fly away to safety because he wants revenge, and he's not going to just sit there and let you kill him.
I still want to beat him with a hammer, though. I prefer an axe. You can throw it farther. But it's just the natural, independent thought of taking a hammer, and just whomping this little bugger like a tent peg and drive him in the ground and beat him back to the proper size.
Because he's not that little anymore.
We haven't managed to do it yet.
Nope. So that happens, and they move on, and the caravan continues. They fight off that ambush, and they drive on, and a couple other adventures happen, and then something truly glorious happens.
Depends on your point of view, laddie.
Yeah, I guess, but I found it thoroughly entertaining. They come to this town, and everybody gets off the caravan. They go into town. Some people go out in the woods to meditate. Jareth. Other people go to the inn and get booze. Caliban, Mac, Krontis.
Most of the heavy hitters.
Are at the tavern.
They hit the tavern. Now me, for once, the situation is okay. Now we're supposed to be in this caravan as caravan guards. All right, we're protecting it from brigands, thieves, what have you. But that's not just on the road. I mean, I'm actually supposed to be keeping an eye on this wagon full of rare and expensive lumber, of all things. I'm watching the wood wagon. But, well, the thing is this woman is paying me to keep an eye on the thing. So, well, everybody else goes into town. It's like, well, I think I should stay here and keep an eye on the thing I'm supposed to be keeping an eye on. So I missed out on the beginning of what happens next.
And what happens next is that there are 3 gorgeous women, triplets, redhead triplets.
He's also redhead.
Yeah, and they started hitting on 2 of the rogues and our monk. And they're buying them drinks, they're getting them liquored up. And the women suggest that they go up to the room and have a good time. Now, the rogues get suspicious, and they're not interested. They're like, it's okay. I'm not gonna go. Caliban, our monk, on the other hand, he's all about it. He's like, hey, they don't want it. Come with me, girls. We'll have a good time together. So, one man, 3 triplets.
It's like, now, it can be done. We've seen it can be done. But it's one of those poor problems where is everything on the up and up.
So, everybody's drinking, people bed down for the night. He joins them in their room. And as a DM, I wanted to give him a chance to actually, not for me to tell a story of what happened, but to actually give him some agency in this. So, to have fun or to make love to these women, I made him make a couple of ability checks. Well, 4 ability checks. First, he had to do an athletics check to see if he was physically capable, an acrobatics check to see if he was limber enough, an animal handling check to see if he had proper technique,
excuse me,
and a constitution check to see if he had enough stamina. Now, going back to Caliban and the actual player that this is, This is Glenn. This is the man that has the saying, the best laid plans of mice and Glenn. Where normally he has a plan, but the dice fail him. This is the turning point. Like, something about this campaign has been the turning point in his life as a role-playing, person.
It's like the sun came up on the dice for some reason.
The man rolled very high. He rolled an 18 on athletics, 19 on acrobatics. He rolled a critical on animal handling. And he rolled something like a 17 on constitution. But he crit that animal handling. So he has thoroughly satisfied these three women. And so, they cuddle and whatnot. And thankfully he passed his constitution, because all he's seeing is like they're basking in the moment, they're glowing. And then because his stamina was good enough and he did not pass out afterwards, he notices that the one straddling him is about to stab him.
Changes the whole color of the event.
He's like, oh! And I
think he actually did yell that.
Yeah. He proceeds to defend himself. Now, he's got three women attacking him now. And all he can think of to yell is, spoon!
Now, yes, you go out of genre for spoon. Anyone who's a fan of the old cartoon called The Tick knows of the Tick's battle cry of a long, loud, resounding spoon. Now, again, a cockeyed, goofy show, but it was a thing. It's like it happened. Well, unfortunately, those of us that know Glenn, that we know that means that there is a problem, but we didn't think to let everybody else in the party know that this means that there is a problem.
So so here's where the four old farts and their inside jokes, it actually kind of almost got them in trouble, because he's yelling spoon. Some of the other characters are like,
he must be having a good time.
Yeah, he's wanting to spoon. And you have one that's like she's wanting to eavesdrop. She's like, what's going on? I want to, she's kind of voyeuristic.
She's curious about what's going on in there.
Yeah, and so she's just hearing him yell spoon and bumping and, whatnot going
on.
Furniture moving, and she's like, man, he must be having a really good time, and he's over there trying to defend himself. Eventually, he yells, help, and they're like, oh, we need to get in there.
Now, somewhere along the way, maybe it was an echo from down the street, but Fergus, way down in the wagon yard, hears in the distance. It's like, oh, that can't be good. So he turns around and starts heading up. He starts heading up the road, trying to figure out which one did they go to. Was it the Harp and Shamrock? Which place was this?
So Fergus is trying to find them, and some of the ones that are in the inn run into the room to find Kaliban struggling with these three women. At which point, each of the women shapeshift. They're doppelgangers. So they change their shape to look like one of the party members, which creates a mass of glorious confusion.
Because everybody starts swinging at everybody.
And to simulate the confusion of the battle, because as players, you could say, well, I'm going to swing at a doppelganger and not at the character. Well, that's too easy. I make them make wisdom checks to see if they actually can tell who's who. So every time they go to attack, they have to roll to see if in the melee they actually swing at the right one. And so they end up...
we beat the crap out of ourselves.
It is a bloody battle, and they do a ton of damage to themselves. But wait.
There's more.
There's more. So while Fergus is running to join the melee, Jareth, our intrepid dragonborn fighter, who has Mama Shmuel, the floating, talking, undead head, decides, he's outside, he was out meditating in nature or some such, not quite sure.
Being woodsy.
Yes, being very woodsy. He decides that instead of going in the inn, running up the stairs to join the melee conventionally, he's a big, strong fighter. He is going to jump into the second-story window from the ground floor.
Now, what I could say, it's like as a player, I would think it's points like this where it's all about how you phrase or describe what you're going to do. Now, if he had said, "Well, I'm going to climb up to this window," or "I'm going to parkour off of that fence to the roof of that shed, and then I'm going to hook onto the windowsill and pull myself in," you could do that, because there's been no description of the building beyond there is a building there and the windows on the second floor. So you can add in little things like, "Oh yeah, there's a fence there. I mean, it would be, or a shed, or an outhouse."
Or, I hop off of, I find a niche, I climb up, whatever. But no, he said, I am jumping through the second-story window.
Right up there.
From the ground floor. So, I say the very deadly word of, "Okay, roll for it."
Roll.
And he rolls. He rolls poorly. So he runs, and he jumps, and he smacks into the wall. Bap! And, he's kind of stunned, and he falls over. And, okay, well, that was your turn. So some more melee ensues. People are fighting, hurting each other. Madness, craziness. Well, he doesn't do this once. When it comes back to his turn, he doesn't say, "Okay, I'm going to run into the tavern," or "I'm going to climb up." No, he says, "I back up and I run again to jump through the window."
He's going to give it another go.
That good old college try. He's going to give it one for the Gipper. And, well, he rolls poorly again. And so this time, he smacks into the wall yet again, but with such force that he actually leaves an indention in the wall.
Inside the tavern, it's a busy place. There's all kind of people in there drinking, carousing, having their time eating. And it's just, if you notice in the back of the room where the fireplace is, you can see the wall keep jumping. Pictures on the wall shaking, and everybody's like, "Do you hear that?"
And just an indention of this dragonborn. and I have him roll to see if he's stunned, and he fails his roll, and so he's knocked unconscious. He is unconscious below that window, which comes into this later, and he's on the ground, just out cold. And the melee ensues, and this is yet again one of the things where eventually our heroes start to defeat the bad guys, and these doppelgangers have a sense of self-preservation. Yes. So they start hopping out the window. The very window that dear Jareth is lying beneath. So now...
That's quite a drop.
It is quite a drop, but he provides cushion. And so now we have people landing on this Dragonborn fighter, and now he's taking damage, because you have 150 plus pound individuals
jumping on him from 30 feet up.
It's going to cause some damage. And so now I'm rolling damage for him every time somebody lands on him. Well, not only are the doppelgangers jumping out, now some of our party is jumping out to chase the doppelgangers, and they land on him as well. He sustained so much damage from running into the wall twice and having 5 or 6 people land on him,
boot leather CPR,
that he has now been knocked, not just unconscious because he's already there, he now has to make death saving throws because he has been knocked to 0 hit points. And at which point I have to make him start making death saving throws, which he promptly starts failing. Now,
just terrible. Because I think we know what happened to the dice jinx. Because I had left one person and it went to someone else.
Yeah, it migrated from Glenn over to Matt. Poor kid. Now he kind of brings it on himself, but at the same time, some of his ideas would be great if
the dice didn't shoot him in the foot.
Right. So now he is on death's door, and he goes to make his last death-saving roll, and his mom speaks up. He's like, "Wait, Mama Shmuel's there. Is there something she can do to save him?" And, I was like, okay, I'll give him that. They're bringing Mama Shmuel, this character that's kind of like just extra fluff, into the story, and they, and a lot of times they would talk to her and interact with her as if she was a real person. So Mama Shmuel goes, "My baby!" and flies over to her baby and starts bouncing off of his chest, giving him CPR and mouth to mouth.
Yeah, SPR, Shmuel pulmonary resuscitation.
Yeah, Shmuel pulmonary resuscitation.
The thing was, one of the first things that I had done was, I find as a character, sitting there with these people, everybody's got their own little things, behold their hairdo, and so on. But here's this lad, big fella that he is, with this floating, disembodied head. It's a head. It didn't even trim the neck to make it even. It's a head.
Slightly decayed.
Yeah, it's a little green around the edges. And it's like, oh, it's a woman's head. And it's like, okay, that's gross. Now, why don't we just find a way to kind of at least make it seem a little bit more arcane, if that's the right word. But I just happened to find, there's an armory, there's an armorer's shop, and I just bought a cheap steel helmet. It's sort of like the Skyrim helmet with the horns that come around like that. And it's like, "Mama, come see." She floats over, and it's like, boom, here you go. And now, I don't have to look at her, but I'm not telling her that.
But she's like, "Oh, this is fabulous!"
Although there's kind of a metallic echo to her voice now.
"It's wonderful. You're trying to protect me. You people are so beautiful. I love you all. Look at this glorious helmet." She's floating around, spinning. And,
yeah.
She's just having a great time.
So anyway, the deal with the steel helmet is the helmet is actually giving her head enough weight to actually begin the chest compressions. And she's basically headbutting him in the chest and manages to bring him around.
Yeah, so she manages to stabilize him through Shmuel pulmonary resuscitation. Now, so you imagine the bouncing head and the on the chest. Now imagine slightly decayed mouth to mouth. So, yeah, well, so she saves him from death.
Ish.
And he's passed out, and they chase the doppelgangers away, and eventually the healer finally gets downstairs and is actually able to lay hands on him and heal him.
Huzzah.
Woo! And
he made it.
Yeah.
Go figure.
Barely. Now, as that was happening, part of what happened is one of our characters, Tyrann, our archer, has taken a bunch of damage. Now, our healer, this is a situation where Casey, her thing as her character was that she misspeaks sometimes. She misspeaks phrases, and it's to be funny. Well, she wanted to do this Southern Belle type accent, and so at some point she goes, "Be hailed!" And
I do believe that would be one of those Georgia peaches.
Yeah.
Because she's going to go out there and be nice to that poor gentleman. "I will hail you." Well.
Me as the DM, I was like, "Oh, this is too good. I can't pass this up." So I say, "Your gods hear you." And he takes 27, however much she would have healed him for, he takes
Hail.
that much damage in hail damage. Now, there is no such thing as hail damage, but at the same time, I couldn't help it.
The game master screws us again.
Your gods hear you. He has been hailed for 27 points of hail damage, and And
just out of they were in a room, and it just ice begins falling out of the ceiling on the man,
beating him, just like, and he's yelling and screaming, and he's worse off than where he was.
He was
before.
like 5 points worse off before she started.
And he's like, "Stop!
Stop helping me! Don't help me anymore!"
And but so once she got through that episode, she finally gets downstairs and brings Jareth around and heals him up. And oh yes, it was. That's why I said it was glorious, because so many shenanigans. They're killing each other.
They're shooting each other in the face with arrows, exploding. Luckily, we didn't burn the building down. There was no fire this time around. At least once every month during our weekly episodes, there is a fire.
At some point.
Yes, I don't know why. We just got to think about it, I guess.
So, and we'll leave you there with those shenanigans to enjoy for the rest of the week. But yeah, it was glorious. All the running, the screaming, the killing each other, running into walls.
Yeah, well, I think they got a little memorial going there now, or they've painted it in, so all you see is the back of a dragonborn against the wall, because they're like, did you see that? Look at that. It's a perfect thing. You can see the tail and everything.
Yeah. So, if you liked the video, please hit the like button. Share it with your friend.
Friend? They only get one?
Multiple friends. I misspeak.
Friends.
Friends, yes. Please share it with your friends. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter. I'll have the links below. And look forward to next week, where we will continue the adventures of our intrepid band of mishap-prone adventurers.
And as they always say around us, but
wait,
there's more.